Thank you, Brother Lloyd, and welcome, brethren, to another Wednesday night. Very happy to welcome all of you here, and all of you who are here with us by the Zoom. Very happy to see you as well. I'm waving back to you in my mind. Okay. I have to say, it's not necessarily good what's going on in the control room. They're having trouble with my file. This comes from not updating as I should. We'll see if they get it. One thing about it, they're trying. It is it's only my fault for using OpenOffice. I thought I would give it one more try, and we see what's happening. Sister Colette, could you go to my computer and see if you can get that most recent file off? It's called Wednesday Conduct Unbecoming.
Is there a flash drive there that you have?
Yeah, there is. Unfortunately, it is an OpenOffice. Maybe you should take a computer person, but you just have to go to OpenOffice and do it in the usual way. Take one of the computer young men. Thank you, Brother Jan. Even though I wasn't calling you one of the young men. Okay, I'm sorry about that. And I promise that I will update. I tried to update, by the way, and I guess I may have told you this already, but after spending an hour online with a very polite Indian Microsoft help person, and he rummaging around my computer with their remote desktop software, he advised me that I needed to upgrade from Windows 7 to Windows 11 or whatever foolishness, 10. And that was an annoying piece of advice. All his job was is to help me install PowerPoint, reinstall Office 365. That has always worked before, but they do these things on purpose so that you will have to migrate. Okay, it's always worked, of course, but now the advice is we can't do anything. You must upgrade. I wanted to talk a little bit tonight about the coronavirus epidemic and where we are in it. There is a lot of confusion on this subject. A lot of conspiracy theories have gone around, and since it wouldn't have been any good if I had the slide, but I shared a interesting graphic with some of the senior brethren here, It shows the vaccination rate by income and education. And what do you think that shows? The most educated people and the wealthiest people in the country, what are they doing about the vaccine? The most educated and the wealthiest are twice as likely, more than twice as likely to be vaccinated as the least. And I'm sharing that with you for a reason. The people who are the wealthiest people in this country, and we're speaking about the United States, are the doctors and lawyers, engineers, scientists, businessmen, and so on. They're used to making decisions for a living, and they have discounted all the conspiracy theories that you believe in. Brethren, it is not a nefarious plan, New World Order plan to control your brain with the vaccination. Whatever conspiracy theory is your preferred choice. It never was that. Always the question was, are these vaccines safe? And because they were not regularly approved vaccines, they are emergency approved use only by the FDA. It is a question of just how safe these vaccines are. And we have seen a fair amount of side effects from the vaccines. But it is important for each of us to understand that the information you're getting on this from videos, YouTube and BitChute and all the other places, their videos, is not reliable, proper information. You are seeing lies and deceptions on an order that we have not seen before. And the least educated people and the least economically productive people buy into this heavily. And our area, by the way, of Missouri is a poor area. We have a low income, low educational standard, and a lot of prejudice against the vaccine. It's not a racial thing. These are white people in this area. But among lower income people of any race, there's a lot of prejudice and concern about this. And the lower the education level, the greater the prejudice and resistance. Now, the vaccine has a lot of benefits. I'm not saying it's safe though, because we don't know if it's safe. It's the kind of thing that we have to analyze and make an intelligent decision. Who is going to make an intelligent decision more likely? Someone who is making $100,000 a year or someone who is making $10,000 a year? You don't like to hear that, brethren, but it's the truth. Too much foolishness in Davidian, too many people with too much conspiracy ideas. Where are you getting the conspiracy ideas? From the scientific journals? You have studied the scientific journals carefully? Or have you studied BitChute and all the rest of the video places carefully? Davidians are heavily influenced by the world on the whole subject of the vaccination. Heavily influenced. Now, with all that said, we still don't know if it's perfectly safe. But one thing we know right now is it's protecting a lot more people than it's hurting. And that, brethren, you don't have to be making $100,000 a year to have that understanding. You just have to avoid the worthless garbage information from all the video services. Make it a principle that you don't see any videos from those places except practical how-to videos that tell you how to fix your car or something like that. All other things that are floating around Davidia, brethren, they are repeated lies, and we've done that before. People stopped sending us these things by and large, but we have analyzed it. We have gone to the sources on the internet that analyze these things, and we have shown repeatedly that these things are lies. These things are deceptions. And this is what people are basing their information, their decisions on the vaccine. So what we have said before is, if you are at high risk for this virus, you should seriously consider one of the non-abortion dependent vaccines. There are several. Pfizer is one, Moderna is another, and Novavax is going to be probably the best when it's approved. And there's others too. Those are just in this country. Now, those were made without the use of aborted fetal tissue lines, cells from a long ago abortion. We have no ethical problems with that. We do have health concerns. What is going to happen in 6 months, in a year, and so on? Well, we are down the road 6 months now, and we can know what's going to happen to the people. Nothing is going to happen to most of those people who are taking the vaccine. And it is protecting them to a large extent. Now, the reason that I'm talking about this right now is that we are in the early stages of the Delta surge in this country. It is putting people in the hospital, even people who are vaccinated. But the vaccines are protecting people to a certain extent from the Delta variant. Delta is here in Missouri. Missouri has a low enough vaccination rate to where Delta is moving very strongly in our area, and we are getting national news once again for the surge in the virus in this area. And if it is as infectious as they say it is, Southwest Missouri and so on will all be in the news because of this surge. We have a very large unvaccinated population in this area, very large. And we have a lot of people who don't, quote, believe in the virus. Whether we believe in heart disease or cancer or automobile wrecks or whatever, it doesn't matter what we believe in, brethren. These things are real. The virus is real, and it is filling up the hospital, emergency rooms, not emergency rooms, intensive care units again, and this is going on. Now we're in the early stage, for week 2 or so, and it hasn't really got as big as it probably will get. Only the Lord knows, but it will get bigger. If you have not been vaccinated, you need to think about it, and your source of information should not be the conspiracy-minded videos that you have been watching. We don't know for sure what the long-term health effects are, but we are starting to see. And the health effects are real, but mostly transient, and for most people, your body recovers and you move on. And I want you to have a sensible view of these things. I want you to have the view of the well-educated, wealthy elites. I don't want you to have the view of those who make $10,000 or less. Sorry I don't have the graphic, but it's a up-to-date, as of July 1, graphic of vaccination status in the United States. It's not designed as propaganda. It's designed just as an information depiction, but I was repurposing it as very useful propaganda, okay? And true propaganda, brethren, it is true. And we do not want to be a hot spot of this infection. The people have enough criticisms of churches today. The churches are this, the churches are that, and we would be giving a wrong impression, we would be giving a wrong view of these things if Bashan was a hot spot of infection. So I don't mind what you do, by the way. You don't have to get the vaccination, of course, and you don't have to, whatever you do is your decision. But I will say this, it is conduct unbecoming of a Davidian to get the virus, okay? You need to not get the virus. And I wanted to touch on two more things before I wrap up this prayer meeting, evidently, if we never get our PowerPoint. But I want to touch on two things that you can do to avoid the virus. We all know about using good quality masks. And the other thing, though, is providine iodine. Providine iodine, it is been shown in a number of studies to be a very good thing to put drops of that in your nasal passages. What it is it's shown that diluted iodine applied in your nasal passages will strongly prevent the SARS virus. Now this is SARS-1, but the current research is not conclusive, but it is showing that it is also doing a very good job on this SARS-2. The two are very close to each other, by the way. And the way you do that is you dilute the iodine to about 0.5%, and it can be from 0.5% to 0.2%. And it is safe. It's not in a trial with 300 and some people. There was no allergic reactions, no thyroid reactions. It was perfectly all right. So that's one thing that has been shown to have a powerful effect on preventing the virus. You can also gargle with that dilution. And you don't swallow it, you simply gargle, and then you spit out the solution, the diluted solution. Let me stress that if you have 10% iodine, you have to dilute it 20 times, okay? 20 parts of water to 1 part of iodine. Did you have your hand up? Sister? Yeah, the liquid is important to, the pill is to support your thyroid health and so on. But this is simply a topical thing. It is, when you gargle, it kills the virus. And so some of it will stay in your throat for a little while, not long. The nasal passages, it will actually stay a little longer. So if you're about to go into a medical procedure or something, this is what they were researching it for. They were using it for that situation, and it worked very well. Listerine has been shown, gargling with Listerine has also been shown to be to kill the virus, okay? But it's a momentary thing. The iodine probably is better. You cannot get I don't believe you can get the diluted solution in this country, but they sell it in Japan and Singapore and other places, okay? So overseas they are using this to some extent. The other thing that I wanted to mention besides this is the longer lasting hand sanitizer. There are a number of brands of longer acting hand sanitizer. It's very nice to kill the virus for a moment. That's fine, and that's good. But if it goes, the alcohol disappears in a few moments, and then you have nothing on your hand, literally, okay? The persistent sanitizers will stay on your hand for a few hours to all day, depending on the brand, okay? That's a good thing. It's nice if your hands had the power to kill the virus, okay? And while this is simple power, it is available to you if you care to buy the persistent non-alcoholic. Look for one that says non-alcohol sanitizer, and it will have one of those semi-persistent or persistent formulations. It just depends on the formulation how long it lasts. Two things that you can do to significantly affect your status as your susceptibility to the virus. Everything I say you can Google. If you know how to use Google, you can pull up a lot of solid information. It's all based, the only COVID information that I pay attention to is scientific research, with a slight partial exception for the CDC and so on. But even there, for them, I only partly rely on the CDC. It is mostly scientific papers that have reported on studies, and that is a reliable source of information. Who is the best health author today? Who is the best authors on the virus situation? It's not your average crazed YouTuber. It is the scientists who are studying these things and writing papers on this that are peer-reviewed, that are carefully checked by other scientists. Is it gospel? No, but the things that they first said a year ago and that we put out to you are being proven again and again now, okay? So in almost every case, and there's one particular thing that I have not rechecked recently, and I plan to, but all of our things that we have recommended have been proving out in continuous research. Okay, so thank you, Brother Jan and Sister Colette. You saved the day, and our study, our prayer meeting is about conduct unbecoming. And the prayer thought is, what does it take to be members of the vanguard today? First, the individual must be fully converted to the message of present truth. Second, he must be willing to sacrifice all in the interests of this work. That is all that it takes. Okay? To be part of the vanguard, all it takes is to be fully converted to the message. There's many reasons people might want to be called a Davidian. There's many reasons that people might have an interest in Bashan. But the only real reason in the end is we must be fully converted to the present truth, the message. And the second, he must be willing to sacrifice all in the interests of the work. 2 Code 9, page 3. Why is it important to be for these two things? Brethren, if we understand the message, and the message proves itself in prophecies. When the Lord gives a person a message, he has to give proof. He gives proof with that message. And the proof is in the prophecies. We have the proof that this message is true. And we have prophecy after prophecy after prophecy interpreted, and then we have fulfilled prophecy today as we look back. When we see this, that is our certainty that this message is the true message, that this is not just a random message. There are so many voices out there, many voices in the world, many different little groups. but no one has the body of proof that we have. And what does the message say? The message says that this association right here that we are part of, and that you are part of too, as members and supporters, this association is going to accomplish the work. What work? The work for the church. But very interestingly, the Leviticus says that this association accomplishes the work in the loud cry for the world. Okay? What does that mean? It means that, incredibly, that it is this association that the Lord is going to use to finish the work. Not every Davidian knows that, understands that, but I guarantee you the enemy understands that. And he is working day and night to disrupt that. This is a place of peace and spiritual development, but it is also a place of high-intensity spiritual combat, with the enemy doing everything he can to disrupt the message. And to disrupt the work of the message, he disrupts us individually, our spiritual growth, the way we get on with each other, our commitment to the message or to the interests of the work. So it is very important to understand why we have this message, to be fully committed, converted to this message, and second, to be willing to sacrifice all in the interests of the work. If we send people overseas, even right here, but if we send people overseas, and God forbid, and the Lord is in control, but something happens and they die. They have sacrificed all. And brethren, this is going to happen. There's a mistaken view that we will not have any trouble. We personally. I'm not sure just where that came from, brethren, but it's not true. We will have trouble all the way home. And the trouble is spiritual trouble. Yes, it's spiritual, but it's real trouble too. We're going to have real trouble. The enemy is going to do everything he is allowed to do to us, just like he did to Job, even into taking our life if he is allowed to. We don't know everything, all of God's plans. Paul was a great apostle, a great servant. He did a great work, but he was martyred. His life was taken before his old age. The Lord permitted that. And we don't know for sure what will happen to us, brethren, but what we do know is that we must be willing to sacrifice everything for the Lord. And that is the requirement, brethren, to be part of the vanguard. There's not, I'm willing to sacrifice half for the Lord. It's not possible. And I'm telling you this not to reprove you, but to encourage you and to inform you of what the requirement is. That's all that is the Lord's requirement, but it's not less than that either. With His help, we can meet that. With His help, we can be determined that good or bad, whatever happens, we will bless the Lord's name and persevere in the work that He has given us. That is the standard to be part of the vanguard. Now, our law today is not the same law as the ceremonial and civil law of Moses. But we have a law. We have requirements that we live and die by. And that is what the law is. If the law is something that we must do, if the requirements are something that we must do, that is God's law to us today. And so some people have a problem thinking, well, we don't have the law today. We're not under the law. We're not under the law of Moses, the ceremonial law. We are under the moral law, and we are also under all the requirements of the message, of the spirit of prophecy. All apply to us. 2 Code 1, page 7. Our only aim in life is to be true to the Word of God, the Bible and the spirit of prophecy, faithful in our duties, and a blessing to his people. We have no other plans. And 1 TG 7:13, only when we have done all we can to comply with the requirements of the message for today, not of yesterday, shall we be sealed and stand with the Lamb on Mount Zion. Now we say requirements, but it's the law, brethren, today. That those requirements are our law. And I say they're our law because breaking the law of God has one certain result. What is that result? Death. What if we do not comply with the requirements of the message today? We will not receive the seal. What is the result? Death. So it is the law for us today. All of the requirements of the message and the spirit of prophecy and the Bible. The moral law didn't go away. It is here today, and it is here tomorrow. It's the eternal law of God. And the law, the requirements of the spirit of prophecy and the message are also our law today. And we live by them or we die by them. And it's something that every Davidian knows and needs to know and needs to keep it there in constant their mind. Now, we want to delineate some new sins. And the main sin is conduct unbecoming of a Davidian. You do know it was wrong, but we may not have really thought about it in that sense. But conduct unbecoming of a Davidian is a sin worthy of death. Not from any human being, but it's the Lord is speaking. We will not receive the seal if we are guilty of conduct unbecoming of a Davidian. And in particular, I want to deal with four things: discouraging influence, oversharing, complaining, unnecessary mental, physical health baggage, excessive attachment to the world. Four things. And I know it's late, and we'll try to go through these things quickly. Conduct unbecoming of a Davidian. One of the striking statements concerning our influence, and one which emphasizes the fact that we are indeed a spectacle to the world, to angels, and to men, is found on page 23, volume 9 of the Testimonies for the Church, and reads as follows. The world is watching Seventh-day Adventists because it knows something of their profession of faith and of their high standard. And when it sees those who do not live up to their profession, it points at them with scorn. And Brother Harif is exactly right. This is just what they do today. While the above quotation refers to the church as a whole, we are concerned here with the question of how we, who profess to be giving a special message to the church, appear to our own dear brethren who have not yet accepted the message which is so precious to us, and for whom we are to labor, knowing that their blood will be upon us if we fail to do by word and act all that we can. Hence it becomes evidence that we are not only a spectacle to the world, to angels and to men, but to our SDA brethren as well. Our conduct must be becoming of our profession. For they are scrutinizing our movements, and we should be glad to have them do so, and see to it that nothing unbecoming a genuine Christian can truthfully be said against us. Do not feel bad when they are scrutinizing us with a fine magnifying glass. Don't worry. It is something that they will do. They need to see Christ in every action and word of ours. They need to see nothing unbecoming of a genuine Christian in our actions and in our words. That is our standard, brethren. what does it mean in practice? We should not be severe and exacting with the erring. It is all out of place. How unbecoming and out of place for Christians to be so ready to criticize, censure, and condemn their brethren of like passions with themselves. The truth is, a lot of people who throw stones live in a glass house. And from a spiritual point of view, it's true of all of us. We have all come short, and in many different ways. And we need to be not critical of others, not judgmental of others. We need to be supportive and accepting. And that is the standard for us to be. That is a conduct of standard for us. Anything else, anything of gossiping, criticizing, carrying on about people's behavior, laughing, mocking, anything like that, it is all condemned. We condemn ourselves. And in the Lord's eyes, we become worse than the person that we are condemning. The reproof is here given by our Redeemer for all such conduct. Except ye be converted and become as a little child, ye shall not enter into the kingdom of heaven. Meekness and humility must be cultivated continually in order to preserve the true spirit of Christianity. Now, if we were to do this continually for a few weeks and then a few months, it would become a set way of behavior for us. We need to do that. Now, if we cultivate the right behavior one day and we slip the next day and we cultivate it the next day, we will always be, and go back and forth like that, back and forth, we will always be at square one. We'll always be striving but never actually gaining altitude. We have to break that pattern. With the help of the Lord, we have to perfectly attain to the standard today with meekness and humility and a way of speaking to other people that is not severe and judgmental, but is kind and loving. We meet that standard today, we meet it tomorrow, we meet it the third day. We're starting to grow, we're starting to establish a pattern, a behavior, a habit with the Lord's help. Brethren, if you can do that for a week without slipping, you will do yourself a tremendous benefit. And it's the back and forth that tears us down. Yes, we're growing, but then we fall and we slip and we start back over again. Don't start back over again. Let the Lord help you to be the person that you should be without fail. And be that person when no one's around. That is the key thing. Be the supportive, positive person at all times, all circumstances. Now, one of the the activities that are unbecoming of a Davidian is being a discouraging influence. You're not going to receive the seal. I am not going to receive the seal. None of us are going to receive the seal if we are discouraging influences to each other. The words of criticism that have been spoken have at times had a very discouraging effect. But again and again, in their necessity, the Lord sent them the word to go straight ahead, to follow their leader. I have been instructed to lift up the hands that hang down and to strengthen the feeble knees, to encourage the faithful laborers with words from the Lord. This is what we have to do. We need to follow that example. We need to encourage those who are feeble, lift them up. If we are all doing that, if we are all lifting each other up, we're going to take off. It is going to work. But the words of criticism have a discouraging effect. You may not realize that the criticism is having a discouraging effect. You may just be venting. But if you vent to a human being, you may be dragging that person down, placing your doubts and annoyances and so on with them. It frees you, and then you may have been responsible for being a discouraging influence for those brethren. That, brethren, is conduct unbecoming. There are some in our churches who, if there is discouragement in any line, are sure to talk about it. If there are some who, if like lemmings, if someone is jumping off the cliff, I want to jump too. Don't be like that, okay? And when you see people like that, encourage them to be independent thinkers, not follow, not jump into the pit with other people. We should remind ourselves that the 144,000 were without guile in their mouths. And the Bible says that he that overcomes his tongue is a perfect man. Are we ever guilty of uttering statements before checking them for accuracy, for justice, for necessity of telling, for edification? Let us learn to speak the right thing at the right time and in the right place. Having learned that, we will have become heroes of God, brethren, and heroes that people look up to also. We will become heroes, for it is a fact that for at least some people to gain the victory on this point, they will have to make what seems to be the supreme sacrifice. Let us not speak evil of other people. Let us not speak discouraging, disheartening things. Always remember that persons who speak thus invariably betray their own low spiritual condition. We give away our inner person in many different ways. If we are doing this, we are betraying our low spiritual condition, just as Brother Hadif says. And there's many other ways to betray our true spiritual condition, and we need to be careful. We don't want to be a discouraging influence to others. We don't want to drag people down. And who wants to go around with a sign on their self saying, I am a low spiritual energy person? Okay? Who wants to do that? Don't do it, brethren. And remember, those who are learning to read these signs, and we talk about these signs from time to time, from the message, we all are learning to read the signs of ourselves and of others. We're not judging the person, but if they are betraying their own low spiritual condition, it is something that we can see. Don't talk about it, except to encourage them, but it is something that we don't want to spread. Everything we say must pass the test of these 4 rules: accuracy, justice, necessity, edification. These are the things that Brother Hadif spoke about above. And is the thing true? Is it just? Is it right? Is it necessary? And is it uplifting? And if our subject passes this 4-fold test, speak about it. Now, not all personal communication about other people is gossip. Gossip is things that you say behind someone's back. Okay? If it's something positive that you would say in front of them, that's not gossip. And if you know that someone's son or daughter has graduated from college or high school or something, and you say, oh, did you know so-and-so graduated from whatever, or got a job or whatever, that's not gossip, because it's something that you would not mind saying in front of the person. It's positive. But if it's of negative, critical nature, it is gossip, brethren. And is it necessary? It may be true, but is it necessary? Is it just? And does it edify the person? It's very hard to justify negative gossip as edifying anyone. It doesn't do that, brethren. It tears them down. Oversharing and complaining. I think of this as bleeding on each other. Excessive bleeding on someone. Okay? Don't do it. Do not take your troubles to human beings. Take them to the Lord. You may think that others should sympathize with you in your downcast feelings, but you will sometimes be disappointed. Jesus never disappoints one who comes to him for help. Now, I thought I was able to share my problems with people. You want to, if you have a problem to be worked out and you need advice, you can share. But if you're just down in the dumps and you're angry, critical, whatever, and you want to share all those things, what's the benefit? You're not going to get help on that. But if you are discouraged and you're feeling bad, you can indicate that to your friends that, this is just not feeling good, feeling a little down today, and so on. And on our side, all of our side, we need to listen to those people, and we need to specially encourage them. Okay, give them a little break. You know that they're having a difficult time, and give them, lift them up in a positive way. And by all means, don't spew your problems on them when they are having a bad day. So oversharing, or if you like, excessive bleeding on others, don't do it. Excessive dependence on any arm of flesh. The Lord God has given abundant evidence of his willingness to carry our burdens. As you lift his burdens, he lifts you and the burdens also. He invites all who labor and are heavy laden, come unto me. You are not told that you must go around the world to tell your troubles and unload your burdens to your fellow men. Lo, I am with you always, Christ says, even unto the end of the world. Now, we do share things for reasons. We share problems that we need technical help with. We share experiences that might be encouraging or instructive to others. But when we have burdens and we just dragged down by our burdens, and there's nothing that we want to hear from other people in the way of, well, you just need to do A, B, and C. Okay? We don't want that. We just want to complain. We just want to burden someone else with our burdens. In that case, take them to Jesus. Take your burdens to Jesus. It is the right place. Take them there and leave them there. It's not necessary to pick them up when you finish with your season of prayer. Any person who is puts their faith and trust in an arm of flesh will be disappointed. It will always happen. And it's something that we should know. Even with our spouse, people are sometimes going to be late or not doing the things that they said they would do or something, okay? There's always going to be some disappointment with human beings, but there is no disappointment with the Lord. Some of us do not wholly turn to the Lord, but are too much inclined to rely upon an arm of flesh. Here is a lack of trust. A popular writer says, some pray like this: Our Father, give us this day our daily bread, and tomorrow and the next day and the next year, and for 50 years to come. Unless thou should forget or neglect to answer, we have undertaken to look after the matter ourselves. And that's from the Adventist Review and Herald, Sabbath Herald, and 1862. Now, we say we trust the Lord. We all say that. But if we really do trust the Lord, then we will have faith that the problems that we have given him are going to be worked out. We do need to believe that. We all have concerns. If we don't have a concern ourselves at the moment, we have family family concerns, our friends, something we are concerned about. And for whatever the matter is, we need to have faith that the Lord is going to take care of it in the best way. We take it to the Lord, hold it before Him, but do not take it away and worry about it ourselves. Okay, so excessive baggage. Some do not exercise control over their appetites, but indulge taste at the expense of health. As a result, the brain is clouded, their thoughts are sluggish, and they fail to accomplish what they might if they were self-denying and abstemious. These rob God of the physical and mental strength which might be devoted to His service if temperance were observed in all things. Now, the key thought here was robbing God. Okay? They rob God of the physical and mental strength which might be devoted to His service. Brethren, this is a serious crime, a serious sin. We have this excessive baggage problem. It can be physical health or it can be mental health. And it is sometimes both. As she is speaking here, the brain is clouded, their thoughts are sluggish, and it goes on month after month, year after year. What kind of service are we rendering to the Lord in that case? Are we able to render the very best service? And here's a thought that I think that is not new to you, but I feel like it's new in the sense that I don't think people are properly giving it the importance that it deserves. Are you conducting yourself in such a way as to improve your physical and mental being so as to provide the very best possible service to the Lord? Are you? Are we in the very best shape we can be? Now, I always caution the ministers and field workers, don't use yourself as an example because it's a lose-lose proposition. But in the case, and then I break the rule too, but in my case, I'm going to use myself as a negative example. Am I in the best physical condition? And probably mental condition too. But am I in the best physical condition? No, brethren, I'm not. And there could be that if I was in better physical condition, at the end of a long day, 12-hour day, I would still have the strength to make that next stop, that next effort, okay? And you too, each one of you are in the same situation. Are you in the best physical condition? None of us are, brethren. None of us are. But we shortchange the Lord. We do not give the Lord the full offering of ourselves. We are willing to give some, but we are not giving all that we could be giving to His service. Now, to be part of the vanguard, and this is the point, or the overall point, to be part of the vanguard, brethren, we do have to sacrifice everything. We do have to make that full, complete sacrifice. So what does that mean? Instead of getting that extra 10 minutes, 15 minutes of whatever in the morning or evening, whatever we're doing, we are out exercising for the physical benefits. And for the mental benefits, there are a number of things that we need to be doing so that our minds are as sharp as possible. How we eat, if what Sister White says is exactly so. A stomach that is unhealthy, with food dumped in it, the standard American diet dumped into it, it will cloud our minds. It will be injurious to our health, and that is the first step. There are other steps, numerous steps above that we need to understand and be willing to take. We're not doing this self-improvement for ourselves. We're doing it for the Lord. And each of us needs to understand it is our religious duty to present to the Lord the most unblemished and perfect offering of our own life as possible. Okay? As you know, anciently, the offering that was offered to the Lord had to be unblemished, had to be strong and healthy. And we also need to be presenting to the Lord the very best possible offering in ourselves. We should not allow our feelings to be easily wounded. Now, this is just touching on mental baggage. We cannot be giving the best service to the Lord with a very large set of mental baggage on our backs. We can't give real service at all in many cases. We should not allow our feelings to be easily wounded. We are to live not to guard our feelings or our reputation, but to save souls. As we become interested in the salvation of souls, we cease to mind the little differences that so often arise in our association with one another. They're trivial, brethren. Whatever it is, it's trivial. We're talking about eternity here, saving souls for eternity. The loss of one soul is a tragedy beyond our understanding. And the gaining of one soul for eternity is a triumph that we don't realize how happy heaven is when one soul is recovered to the Lord. It is true, and we ourselves need to give the right importance to this work. Our work of soul saving is incredibly important. Our own feelings and the way, I can't work with him. No, not her. Can't. Sorry. What is that? What is that to the eternal salvation? To say you can't do something with somebody and to have these little petty things as looming large in our mind is to show that we are not vanguard ready brethren. We are not ready to be part of the vanguard. And not all who apply are accepted. Many are called, but few are chosen. Are we working to build or to tear down? Are you brothers and sisters among those disgruntled spirits who, in a misconceived sense of duty, are sitting at home misusing their time and strength in writing aimless and misbegotten letters? I put in email of complaint to harass those who are bearing the burden of the work. I feel bad for Brother Howdiff and those with him, but I tend not to, and we only learn this because after you're beaten enough with these things, you develop calluses. But I tend not to be concerned about this myself. Okay, so there is a various misbegotten set of email and letters circulating, and I truly don't care about it for myself. But brethren, if someone loses their way because you helped spread those things, or you didn't do your part to put the situation in the right light, that is a serious matter. That is something to be very concerned about. There are those who put themselves in opposition to the Lord, and we're sorry for that. We're very sorry. But do not stand apart. Do not think that you can take a neutral position. There's no neutrality in this war, in this great controversy that we are involved in. And it is necessary for each one of us to do the best they can on these things. Everybody has a part. And in closing, this is our great solution. This is our way out of where we are. This is the answer. The mind is so constituted that it must be occupied with either good or evil. If it takes a low level, it is generally because it is left to deal with commonplace subjects. Man has the power to regulate and control the workings of the mind, Brethren, we have a lot more mental power than we understand, because we don't practice these things. We don't even try to do the things that Sister White has said. Man has the power to regulate and control the workings of the mind and give direction to the current of his thoughts. But this requires greater effort than we can make in our own strength. We must stay our minds on God if we would have right thoughts and proper subjects for meditation. With the help of God, we can do these things. Now, when the mind is dwelling on spiritual things, when we have immersed ourselves in the message, in the things of the Lord, the things of the enemy, his temptations cannot get to us. It's a shield. We are protected, and we are inculcating these things into our mind on a deep level where they become automatic, and our mind drifts over to the right way automatically because we're so used to thinking in these terms. How this works for us in the day. What are you interested in? What is your chit-chat? What is your common talk? The big subject, the fascinating subject should be the Lord and his love for us, his goodness for us, the message that he has given us. That's the big news. The world doesn't know what the big news is, but the big news is there is a shepherd's rod message. There is a group. There is an association that is going to accomplish the work. And that is the big news, and we need to dwell on that. The news is not whatever the television says. That's nothing. That's trivial. It will change every day. Every few days it will change, whatever. But our subjects won't ever change. We need to concentrate on these things, brethren, and by filling our mind with these things, we will have an impenetrable shield from the enemy. We will also be lifting up each other, and that's a very important thing. Lift up each other. Have some positive thing to say. And what could be more interesting when you get down to it than the message? It is the most interesting and fascinating subject there is. Let us fill our mind with those things, and if we do occupy our mind with good, we will automatically be protected from the evil that is around us and that the enemy would like to send to us and overwhelm us with. So, brethren, conduct becoming, that is what we actually are interested in. Becoming conduct for Davidians, indeed, members of the vanguard. As we move forward, this is the way that we have to be, the life that we have to have, and we have to shun conduct unbecoming of a Davidian. It is necessary. If I was explaining to some people about this thought, that when I was a young man and didn't know better and joined the military basic training, and all of you who have been in the military will know this, one of the worst things that we could imagine as young men was having to repeat the training cycle. It was like, we do not want to be recycled. and so we made every effort, some of us, to avoid, and of course it's not all that hard to avoid being recycled, but it was a thought that kept us in line too. We need to understand that the Lord is a loving, merciful Lord, but he will have us, he will recycle us, okay? We are going to have to go through these things over and over and over again. And we cannot spare you from that. It is a natural process until we grow, until we are willing to grow with his help. He doesn't tell us anything that is not possible with his help. But until we grow with that, we're going to stand here at the bottom, at the level outside of the vanguard, brethren, going around and around the basics. So I hope that everyone will understand these things, that they are willing to move past the basics, and start the process of quickly becoming the special people that the Lord has asked us to be. But at any rate, we are going to go around and around if we need to in order to get this level. So thank you, brethren. God bless you. And I don't want to leave you on a discouraged note. It is a good time to be here. The vanguard is coming together. The vanguard is getting ready to move. It's not so far, okay? It's worthwhile giving everything you have to be part of that vanguard. Thank you, brethren.